Welcome to the Great Awakening Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Daws. Today I want to talk about a recent thread that I wrote on Twitter about woke storytelling. I had a lot of questions about what I meant by that, so I decided it might be a good idea to unpack that a little bit. Before I do that, I've got some great interviews coming up that you're not going to want to miss. So go ahead, if you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and hit like and subscribe. I'm going to be doing some interviews on other YouTube channels coming up soon. So go ahead and follow me over at Twitter so you can see when I announce those and what's going on there. A lot of exciting stuff coming up, and you don't want to miss it. So let's jump right into this thread that I wrote. I'll go ahead and read that to you. I said, this was on July 9th. I said, woke storytelling is a parasitic vampire that moves from franchise to franchise, sucking all the value out of them until they are a hollow shell of what they once were. Woke storytelling can't survive without a host because woke stories don't make money on their own. I said the elements of strong storytelling are inherently in conflict with the woke worldview. You can't tell a good story with a fundamentally false worldview. Woke storytelling depicts a false anthropology because they believe reality is socially constructed. We're going to get into that in a minute. For example, woke movies typically portray women as possessing all they need to succeed instead of as actual human beings with flaws, limits they must learn to overcome. Woke storytelling depicts the world as they desire it to be rather than as it actually is because they believe the reality we experience in real life has been constructed by dominant narratives perpetuated in traditional stories. They believe changing the narrative will change the world. Okay, so let's unpack this. One of the critiques or the kind of pushbacks I got on this thread from a few different people was that you're just talking about message films, and Hollywood has always made message films. And that's true. Hollywood is known for message films. And, those are typically the ones that do well at the Oscars. And it's a long tradition going back. The Warner Brothers in the 30s were known as kind of the socially conscious studio. They would do a lot of, grittier films depicting the reality or the, harsh realities of life. And, typically with some sort of message that they were pushing. They were one of the first studios to really kind of take some swings at Hitler in the 30s before we were really into that war. And, message films have just been a part of Hollywood since, the beginning. And I would even go so far as to say that every film has a message on some level. If the filmmakers or the storyteller, whether it's in comics or books, whatever the medium, music even, the artist behind that has a worldview. We all have a worldview, a way of seeing the world, and that answers the big questions of life. What is good? What is true? What is beautiful? And that worldview can't help but show up in the stories we tell, the art we create. And just a couple of examples of that, even in the most throwaway popcorn film, it's going to have say something about what is good, what is true, what is beautiful. An example I like to talk about is Die Hard. Die Hard is a fun 80s action film. And you could look at it and just see that's about, it's fun. It's great. It is a Christmas movie. We'll die on that hill. But, you could just see it as just a throwaway popcorn film. But if you look at what John McClane is doing, he's not just fighting to stop the terrorists. He's in LA, flown across the country to save his marriage. So it's saying something about the importance of fighting for your marriage, the importance of marriage itself. And, the sequels kind of messed that up a little bit. But then that first film, it says something really profound about, husbands taking responsibility for your marriage and fighting to make your marriage work. And so I love the film for that. But it's not even just conservative, more traditional messages that I'm talking about. There's plenty of films that have left-wing messages that I wouldn't consider woke at all. They're, you go all the way back to Grapes of Wrath, and a lot of the films that were kind of promoting the New Deal in the 30s. It was, those are left-wing messages, but they were still good stories. They were depicting life as it really was, and then suggesting certain remedies to that, and a message about what should happen, how we should solve some of these problems. And I wouldn't consider those woke at all. So what do I mean by woke storytelling? Woke storytelling is when the story is told from a fundamentally false worldview. I mentioned in the thread, they believe reality is socially constructed. Okay, that comes from a theory of knowledge called social constructivism. And that is the idea that all of our social interactions with each other, all of the knowledge we share with each other, all of the stories we tell ourselves are constructing how, our concept of reality. So the way we understand the world to work is not how it really works, or not how it has to work. It is how it was designed to work. And this is, the oppressive forces kind of work together to, oppress certain groups and elevate other groups. And these ideas that we have, science, gender norms, all of these things, they would consider socially constructed. And one of the ways that those constructs were built was through the stories that we tell ourselves. And this is through our media, our books, novels, comics, films, television. And so what woke storytelling seeks to do is to fundamentally reshape reality by telling different stories, telling stories that are completely depicting the world as they wish it were. Okay, so what do I mean by that? Let's get specific. There's a character trope that has become kind of the hallmark of woke storytelling. That's called the Mary Sue. It's a female character who is super strong, super talented, super gifted. They have all of the characters love this character. Anyone who disagrees with this character is automatically bad. So it's this just idealized female character that has no flaws whatsoever. The big example everyone gives of this is Rey from the Star Wars sequels, the J.J. Abrams, Force Awakens, Last Jedi, and stuff. And so this character is attempting. So what they're doing with these Mary Sue characters is they're attempting to change how we think about women. So traditionally, women have been viewed as kind of the fairer sex. That was the nice way of saying they are not as biologically, physically strong as men. So, throughout history, men have kind of taken on the protector role, and women have been more of the nurturing, needing protecting role. Men go out and provide and protect. Women stay home and nurture. And so one of the things that they would say that role, those roles are not, because that's nature. That's how we were designed to work in society, and that's just how things played out, whether by design or chance or whatever. They would say that it's been constructed that way, and so men have been at the helm of telling stories to keep women in that place, and so feminist storytellers, they create these Mary Sue characters in order to to depict women who don't have these limitations, who are stronger than the men, who are more talented. They don't have flaws. They don't have to learn. Like Rey instantly knows how to fix the Millennium Falcon, whereas Han Solo, who has spent his life on that ship, can't figure it out. So she ones up, this beloved character from the past. She doesn't need training to use the Force. She beats someone who was trained by Luke Skywalker the first time she's ever had a lightsaber fight, because she's that great. And, the reason this is, these stories just kind of feel false is because it's denying what makes us human. We all have flaws. We all have the need to grow. We all have things that we struggle with. And so by depicting women, it's as not in need of this. And I think a lot of feminist storytellers do this because they imagine that's what it's like for men. That men don't face these struggles and they don't face insecurities. They don't really have any flaws that they have to overcome or hurdles that they have to overcome. They think that because of society is so patriarchal that men don't face these challenges. And so we need to depict a world on screen or in books, media, where women don't have these struggles, and that will kind of manifest it in real life. And I'll begin to deconstruct these old social constructs and build new constructs to replace them. And that's where, also we get the idea of deconstruction. And so another thing you'll see in woke storytelling is it will begin to deconstruct what we believe about characters and things from the past. So in The Last Jedi, they toy a lot with the idea that the Jedi were actually bad, that Luke Skywalker goes to burn the Jedi, I guess the ancient Jedi books, because he's decided that the Jedi were actually bad. And so these things that we held up as good, true, and beautiful were all ways of perpetuating these oppressive ideas. And so woke storytelling seeks to come in and deconstruct that and take it apart and kind of flip it on its head. And so there's a lot of disrespecting of older characters, showing that they were really not great. They a lot of undermining of these classic characters that we used to love as a way of kind of upending the world and offering up these new characters with these woke motivations, these woke messages as the replacement. And like I said in the thread, woke storytelling, there's not a market there. It really has to find a host, because it's so not true. No one, you're not going to build word of mouth on a movie that no one's ever heard of, that you go and watch it and it just is unrealistic. Nobody acts that way. Nobody talks that way. Nobody just, loves a character that way. No character is just that perfect. And so in order to tell these stories, these wokeness really needs to attach itself to an established franchise. And that's why you see it's showing up in so many beloved franchises. And I think the only way to really stop this is to stop feeding the beast. There's so many franchises that once they started going woke, yep, I'm done. I'm not going to pay money to fund that. And that's the only real way, I think, of sending Hollywood a message, and then supporting movies that are not giving into this. The latest Top Gun is phenomenal. It is not woke at all. It is, the underlying worldview is, has traditional morals. It is, very patriotic, very, good guys are good guys, and It respects what came before it. It respects the movie that came before it, and the characters in that movie. Is not trying to deconstruct or introduce new characters that outshine the characters from the past. And so it's just a really good movie, and it we need to support movies like that. So instead of spending your money with on woke entertainment, at very least wait 6 months before they've done the books and determined whether or not it was success or not. But that's it. That's social constructivism. That's why our movies are going woke. So be looking for that. Be looking for just those false ideas that just don't correspond with reality. And, this is a time people are sick of that type of storytelling. So if you're a storyteller yourself, this is a great time to really be daring and telling different stories that Hollywood is not telling right now. So it's an exciting time. And that's all I have for this week. Next week, I do have an interview with Yoram Hazony. I think I'm pronouncing that right. The author of Conservatism, A Rediscovery. And we're going to talk about kind of national conservatism and the movement that he is kind of spearheading. They've got a big conference coming up in September with a lot of great speakers coming to it. So I'm excited to talk to him about that and just how we can live a conservative life. So that's next week on the show. Like and subscribe so that you don't miss that content. And I will see you next time on the Great Awakening podcast.